San Francisco, something big is about to happen to this 49ers defense. Not a rumor, not a projection. A genuine, real-life transformation built on health returning, talent arriving, and two specific problems getting fixed in ways that are going to make last year feel like a distant nightmare. The San Francisco 49ers finished the 2025 season 32nd in the entire NFL in team sacks. Dead last. Not 30th. Not 28th with a path to recovery. Last out of 32 teams. And their rush defense was not much prettier, 21st in the league in yards per carry allowed, a number that got significantly worse as the season fell apart. Those two failures, an inability to get to the quarterback and an inability to stop the run consistently, created a ripple effect that poisoned every level of this defense from the defensive backs all the way to the linebackers. When you cannot pressure the quarterback, your corners are on islands. When you cannot stop the run, your linebackers are getting gashed and exhausted. When everything collapses simultaneously, you get what the 49ers got last year. A defense that ranked 31st in PFF grade as a unit and watched a 12-win season feel more fragile than it should have. But here is the thing. Every single problem the 49ers defense had in 2025 has a clear, identifiable solution heading into 2026. And on 49ers Focus today, we are going to break down exactly how this defense gets back to being one of the most feared units in professional football. Let us get into it. Let us start with the pass rush, because this is where the most dramatic single-season reversal in the entire league might be waiting to happen. The 49ers had 20 total sacks in 2025. 20 their defensive tackles as a group contributed 4.5 of those. Think about that for a second. The entire interior defensive line, all the bodies rotating through that unit all season long, collectively produced fewer sacks than a single above-average defensive tackle would generate in a typical year. And the reason everything went wrong starts with one play on September 21st, 2025, in Week 3 against the Arizona Cardinals, when Nick Bosa's right knee buckled on a pass rush attempt and he went down on the Levi's Stadium turf. Clean ankle tear. Season over. Bosa gave the crowd a thumbs down on his way to the blue tent, which felt like the most honest possible assessment of what had just happened to the 49ers season. What Bosa was doing before that injury makes the loss even more devastating in retrospect. In 2.5 games, he had posted 2 sacks, 10 pressures, and 3 quarterback hits. His PFF overall grade was 86.3. His pass rush grade was 80.3. He had the game-winning sack against Sam Darnold in Seattle in Week 1. He was generating pressure against Spencer Rattler in New Orleans in Week 2. He was on pace for the kind of season that reminds people why he is one of the best defensive players in professional football. And then, just like that, he was gone. And the 49ers spent the next 14 games trying to replace the irreplaceable. Here is the good news that every single Niners fan needs to hear loud and clear right now. Nick Bosa is not just recovering, he is thriving. He went on record at OTAs saying he is pretty far along in his recovery, that he is already out on the field doing a lot of stuff, and that he plans on being ready. Not hoping to be ready, not targeting training camp as a checkpoint, planning on being ready. Kyle Shanahan said the tier was as clean as it gets, no ligament damage, no meniscus involvement, the best possible version of the worst possible outcome. John Lynch confirmed at the NFL Scouting Combine that Bosa's rehab has been excellent and that the team anticipates him being ready for training camp. The insider reports from David Lombardi of the San Francisco Standard have Bosa tracking well for a Week 1 return, which puts him on the field in Melbourne, Australia, when the 49ers open the season against the Los Angeles Rams on September 11th. This is the same Nick Bosa who came back from his left Achilles in 2020 and had 15.5 sacks in 2021. His body knows this recovery. His mind has been through this before, And if anything, the time away from football has reignited something in him. Bosa himself talked about rediscovering his love for the game during this rehab, saying he has had a lot of time to work on his recovery and just enjoy some time off, and that things are going really well. A motivated, hungry, healthy Nick Bosa coming back with a full year of rest and recovery behind him is not just a good story. It is a nightmare for every offensive coordinator in the NFC West. Now put Bosa's return alongside the most important addition this defense made all offseason: Osa Odighizuwa. The defensive tackle acquired from the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for a third-round pick. And for the money, PIF's analysis made abundantly clear this was a steal of the highest order. Odighizuwa has earned a 70-plus PFF pass rush grade and registered 50 or more pressures in each of the past 4 consecutive seasons. The 49ers had 4.5 sacks from their entire defensive tackle room in 2025. Osa Odighizuwa alone had 49 pressures from that same interior spot in 2025. Along with 23 quarterback hits. He has missed 1 game in 5 professional seasons. 1 game. On a team that lost Nick Bosa, Mykel Williams, Fred Warner, and Dre Greenlaw to injury last year, adding someone who simply does not miss games is a value that goes well beyond what shows up on the stat sheet. And Fred Warner said it himself at OTAs, he is excited for Osa and Bosa. He called Odighizuwa Steady Eddie, Mr. Consistent, said he has heard nothing but great things and seen nothing but great things, and said the 49ers are going to need that interior disruption in a big way for what they are trying to do on defense. When the best linebacker in football says your interior defensive tackle is exactly what this defense needs, you trust that read. Because Bosa's greatest seasons in San Francisco came when he had DeForest Buckner and Arik Armstead and Javon Kinlaw creating disruption from the inside. The outside-inside pass rush combination is what makes this scheme work at its highest level. Odighizuwa draws double teams from the interior, offensive tackles have to account for him on every snap, and suddenly Bosa is getting one-on-one matchups on the outside that he wins at an elite rate. That is the equation that produces 15 sack seasons. That is the equation the 49ers have been missing since Buckner was traded to Indianapolis 6 years ago. And then there is Romello Height, the new wild card in this pass rush equation. The third-round pick, who is already generating buzz from every coach in the building, defensive line coach Chris Kocherek saying his speed, athleticism, explosion, and natural pass rush ability have been really impressive, who brings a completely different dimension to the edge with his speed rush and his arsenal of moves. Kyle Shanahan said Height was at the absolute top of his team's internal playing with your hair on fire grade. Bosa himself called Height explosive and polished and said it is going to be fun to work with him. When the best pass rusher on your team looks at a rookie and says that, you are in business. Height fills the Bryce Huff role. The designated speed rusher on third down who forces tackles to choose between stopping his burst and stopping Bosa, and who is going to make the wrong choice look bad in real time. Combine healthy Bosa, disruptive Odighizuwa, explosive Height, and the continued development of Alfred Collins and C.J. West along the interior. And you are looking at a defensive line that could go from 32nd in sacks to top 10 in the NFL in a single season. That is not hyperbole. That is what happens when a team gets healthy at the right positions at the right time. The second problem this defense needs to fix is the run defense, and the solution here comes down to 2 men more than anything else. The first is Mykel Williams. The second is Dre Greenlaw. And both of them represent the most critical health question marks on this entire football team heading into 2026. The Mykel Williams run defense story is one of the most compelling statistical narratives in the NFL from last season. Williams, the 49ers' first-round selection in 2025, was playing as a rookie interior lineman and doing it at a level that nobody outside of Santa Clara saw coming. The numbers when he was on the field: a 42% run success rate allowed, a 4.9% explosive run rate allowed, were the numbers of a good NFL defensive front. When Williams went down with his ankle injury against the New York Giants, those numbers did not slide. They fell off a cliff. The success rate jumped to 52.9%. The explosive run rate jumped to 11.8%, more than double. 11.8% of runs against the 49ers were explosive plays when Mykel Williams was not in that lineup. That is not the difference between a good run defense and an average one. That is the difference between a functional defense and one that opposing offensive coordinators are actively exploiting on the ground on every single drive. Williams was not flashy. He did not put up the sack numbers that get linebackers and edge rushers mentioned on highlight shows. He was doing the unglamorous, essential work of setting the edge, occupying blockers, and making it physically difficult for running backs to get where they wanted to go. And without him, this 49ers defense had no answer for any team that wanted to run the ball. Now Williams is coming back from his ACL, and the 49ers are playing it smart with his timeline. Shanahan said Williams' return is a closer call than Bosa's. His injury came 6 weeks later in the season, which means his recovery window is slightly shorter relative to the Week 1 opener in Melbourne. There will be no pushing Williams if he is not ready. His long-term value to this franchise matters infinitely more than whether he is available for a Week 1 game against the Rams in Australia. But once Williams is on the field at full health, once opposing running backs have to navigate that physical presence in the B gaps and C gaps again, the entire personality of this run defense changes. The 49ers went from one of the better run-stopping fronts in the league when Williams played to one of the worst when he did not. His return is not a depth addition. It is a foundation restoration. And then there is Dre Greenlaw, who came home this offseason in the most welcome reunion San Francisco has seen since George Kittle re-signed his extension. Greenlaw spent one difficult year in Denver with the Broncos after leaving San Francisco for a 3-year, $35 million deal that did not pan out the way either side hoped. He started the 2025 season on injured reserve with a quad injury, did not debut until Week 7, and appeared in just 8 games before the Broncos released him this offseason. And the 49ers, who had been living with a second-tier linebacker next to Fred Warner for 2 straight years, welcomed him back immediately on a 1-year, $7.5 million deal with $6 million fully guaranteed. Here is what makes Greenlaw's return so important and so exciting for the run defense specifically. In 2025 in Denver, despite missing significant time, Greenlaw set a career-high PFF run defense grade of 86.9, good for 10th among all qualifying linebackers in the league. His overall grade was 74.8, ranking 19th at the position. His run defense grade of 82.3 as an overall mark ranked 13th. This is a player who, even in an injury-shortened, disjointed year far from home, in a system that was not built around him, was still one of the 13 best-run defending linebackers in professional football. That is the player coming back to San Francisco. That is the player who gets to line up next to Fred Warner again. A pairing that Greenlaw himself described with a clarity and a passion that gives you chills. He said when they look across at each other during the game, it is not even for the team at that point. It is for each other. He said, "You are not going to let me down, and I am not going to let you down." And that they have a weird connection. A word that undersells just how transcendent that linebacker duo was during their best years together in 2022 and 2023, when Greenlaw was the 7th-ranked linebacker in the entire league by and the two of them combined for 247 tackles in 30 games. The question is not whether Greenlaw and Warner make this defense better. They absolutely do. The question is whether Greenlaw can stay healthy for a full season, something his body has not allowed him to do in 2 consecutive years now. The torn Achilles in the Super Bowl, the quad injury in Denver, the comeback attempts that keep getting interrupted. This is the biggest X factor on the entire 49ers roster. Every analyst who watches this team closely agrees. If Dre Greenlaw stays healthy for all 17 games in 2026, the 49ers defense has a realistic chance to be one of the best in the NFC. If he gets hurt again, the linebacker room behind him is not equipped to compensate for the absence, and the run defense vulnerability that exposed this team last season comes flooding back. Here is what the full picture looks like when you put it all together. The San Francisco 49ers finished last year with a defense ranked 31st in PFF grade as a unit. Their pass rush ranked last in the league in sacks, their run defense ranked 21st in yards per carry, and deteriorated dramatically without key personnel. And in response, they brought in Osa Odighizuwa to fix the interior pass rush. They drafted Romello Height to add a genuine speed dimension to the edge. They brought Dre Greenlaw home to restore the most important linebacker partnership in franchise history. And they are banking on Bosa and Mykel Williams, 2 players who were among the best at their positions before injury took them out, coming back healthy and hungry. Is there risk here? Of course. Bosa off an axial, Williams off an ankle. Greenlaw trying to stay on the field after 2 consecutive injury-shortened seasons. The 49ers' defensive health is the single biggest variable between a defense that finishes middle of the pack and a defense that finishes top 5 in the NFC. But the talent is there, the scheme is there, the motivation is absolutely there. Bosa talked about rediscovering his love for the game during this recovery. Dre Greenlaw talked about coming home, about a connection with Fred Warner that does not exist between any other 2 linebackers in professional football. Osa Odighizuwa is fuming after getting traded away from Dallas and has something to prove. Romello Height is a 25-year-old rookie who spent 5 college years and 4 program transfers to earn this moment. Mykel Williams is a first-round talent in year 2 who got his season ripped away and is coming back with all that unfinished business sitting in his chest. This defense has every ingredient it needs. Health is the only variable that matters now. And if the 49ers can keep these players on the field in 2026, the rest of the NFC is going to be reminded in very clear and direct terms why San Francisco is one of the most dangerous football organizations in the entire sport. If this fired you up for the 2026 season, hit that like button right now and let us see the faithful show up in the comment section. Subscribe to 49ers Focus if you have not already. We are here every single day breaking down the stories that matter for this team heading into the most important season in years. Drop your answer below. Which defensive comeback are you most excited about? Bosa returning from the ankle, Mykel Williams coming back in the run game, or Dre Greenlaw reuniting with Fred Warner? Let us hear it. Tell a friend to tell a friend that 49ers Focus is the home for real Niners coverage. Go Niners, all day, every day.